A doctor gets a crazy idea on how to make more money, so he puts a sign in front of his clinic. The sign reads, "If I can cure you, I get $20. If I can't cure you, I pay you $100. A lawyer decides that it's his time to shine, so he goes to the doctor. "Doctor, I can't taste anything anymore. Please cure me." The doctor tells his nurse, "Get him some of the medicine from drawer 33. The lawyer takes a swig, gasps, and spits it out. "This is gasoline!" the lawyer exclaims. "There you go, you are cured. $20, please," the doctor says. Frustrated, the lawyer pays and leaves. He goes back the next day, determined to succeed. "Doctor, please cure my memory loss." The nurse fetches some of the medicine from drawer 33. "No way!" the lawyer exclaims. "That's the same crap you gave me last time." "Memory fixed. $20, please," the doctor says. The lawyer stomps away, displeased. The next day, he comes up with a foolproof strategy. He says, "Doctor, I'm blind. Cure me, please." "I'm sorry, I won't be able to cure that. Here's your $100, the doctor says, handing the lawyer a $5 bill. The lawyer says, "Wait a second, this is $5, not $100. The doctor replies, "Blindness cured? $20, please." A blonde was in town and decided to attend a sermon in a nearby church just to pass time. During the impassioned sermon about death and final judgment, the pastor said forcefully, "Each member of this church is going to die and face judgment." Glancing down at the front pew, he noticed the blonde with a big smile on his face. The pastor repeated his point louder. "Each member of this church is going to die and face judgment." The blonde nodded and smiled even more. This really got the preacher wound up. He pounded the pulpit emphatically when he came to the ultimatum: each member of this church is going to die and face judgment. Though everyone else in the congregation was looking somber, the blonde in front continued to smile. Finally, the preacher stepped off the platform, stood in front of the blonde, and shouted, "I said each member of this church is going to die." The blonde grinned from ear to ear. After the service was over, the preacher sent for the blonde. "I don't get it," the preacher said in frustration. "Whenever I said each member of this church is going to die, your smile got bigger. Why?" The blonde replied, "I'm not a member of this church." Late one evening, a Marine pulled into a little town only to find that every hotel room was taken. When he finally got to the last hotel, he pleaded to the manager, "You've got to have a room somewhere, or just a bed. I don't care where." "Well," admitted the manager, "I do have a double room with one occupant, a Navy guy. He might be glad to split the cost, but to tell you the truth, he snores so loudly that people in adjoining rooms have complained in the past. I'm not sure it'd be worth it to you." "No problem," the tired Marine assured him. "I'll take it." The next morning, the Marine came down to breakfast bright-eyed and bushy-tailed. "How did you sleep?" asked the manager. "Never better," said the Marine. The manager was impressed. "No problem with the other guy snoring, then?" "Nope, I shut him up in no time," said the Marine. "How'd you manage that?" asked the manager. "He was already in bed, snoring away when I came into the room," the Marine explained. "I went over, gave him a kiss on the cheek, said, 'Good night, beautiful,' and after that, he sat up all night watching me." Morty and Selma, an elderly couple, were driving across the country. The woman was driving when she got pulled over by the highway patrol. The officer said, "Ma'am, did you know you were speeding?" Selma, hard of hearing, turned to her husband and asked, "What did he say?" Morty yelled, "He says you were speeding." The patrolman said, "May I see your license?" Selma turned to her husband once again and asked, "What did he say?" Morty yelled, "He wants to see your license." Selma gave the officer her license. The patrolman then said, "I see you are from New York. I spent some time there once and went on a blind date with the most annoying woman I've ever met." Selma turned to her husband and asked, "What did he say?" Morty yells, "He said he thinks he knows you." A golden necklace was lost from a rich man's house. A few servants worked in that house. Naturally, it was suspected that one of the servants had stolen the necklace. Each of them was asked, but nobody confessed guilt. So the master of the house lodged a complaint before the judge. All of the servants were summoned to the court, but all of them denied the charge. Then the judge hit upon a plan. He gave each of them a stick of the same length and told them to submit them to the court the following day. He told them that the person who had stolen the necklace would have their stick increase an inch. When they returned home, they kept their sticks as they were. But the servant who stole the necklace shortened his stick by an inch. The next day, when everybody submitted their sticks, it was found that one stick was short by an inch. Then the thief was found. Desmond, who was a real town dweller, drove his car into a ditch when out on the country roads. Luckily, a local farmer was passing by with his big, strong donkey called Dobbin. He hitched Dobbin up to the car and shouted loudly, "Pull, Dolly, pull!" Dobbin didn't move 1 inch. Then the farmer yelled, "Pull, Robbie, pull!" Still, Dobbin failed to respond. Once more, the farmer commanded in an stentorian voice, "Pull, Ringo, pull!" Again, nothing. Then the farmer nonchalantly and quietly muttered, "Pull, Dobbin, pull." Immediately, the donkey easily dragged the car out of the ditch. Desmond was very appreciative, but also very curious. He asked the farmer why he called his donkey by a different name 3 times. The farmer whispered by way of reply, "Oh, Dobbin is blind, and if he thought he was the only one pulling, he wouldn't even try." A drunken man stumbles out of a bar and sees 2 priests walking across the street. He staggers towards the 2 priests and stops in front of them. He turns to the first priest and proudly says, "I'm Jesus Christ." The first priest shakes his head and replies, "No, son, you're not." He then turns to the second priest and says, "Again, I'm Jesus Christ." Again, the second priest replies, "No, son, you're not." The drunk man finally says, "Follow me, I'll prove it to you." Curious, the 2 priests follow behind him as he walks back into the bar. Immediately upon entering, the bartender takes one look at the man and says, "Jesus Christ! You again?" God was just about done creating humans. He was feeling pretty satisfied with his work, but he had 2 parts left over he couldn't decide how to split between Adam and Eve, so he thought he might as well ask them. "I've got 2 things for you, but you'll have to decide who gets what. The first thing is the ability to pee standing up." Adam interrupted, "Oh, please give that to me. I'd love to be able to do that. It seems like just the sort of thing a man should have. Please, please give it to me." On and on he went like an excited little boy bouncing up and down. Eve just smiled and told God that if Adam really wanted it so badly, he could have it, so God gave Adam the ability to pee standing up. Adam was so excited that he just started whizzing all over the place, first on the side of a rock, then he wrote his name in the sand, and then he did the helicopter with his thing. "Look, Eve, I'm a sprinkler." God watched him with amusement and then said to Eve, "Well, I guess you are kind of stuck with the last thing I have left." Eve asked, "What's that?" God said, "Brains." A mathematics professor noticed that his kitchen sink at his home leaked. The plumber came the next day, sealed a few screws, and everything was working as before. The professor was delighted. However, when the plumber gave him the bill a minute later, he was shocked. "This is 1/3 of my monthly salary," he yelled. Well, all the same, he paid it. Then the plumber said to him, "I understand your position as a professor. Why don't you come to our company and apply for a plumber position? You will earn 3 times as much as a professor. But remember, when you apply, tell them that you completed only 7 elementary classes. They don't like educated people." So it happened. The professor got a job as a plumber, and his life significantly improved. He just had to seal a screw or 2 occasionally, and his salary went up significantly. One day, the board of the plumbing company decided that every plumber had to go to evening classes to complete the 8th grade. So our professor had to go there too. It just so happened that the first class was math. The evening teacher, to check the students' knowledge, asked for a formula for the area of a circle. The person asked was the professor. He jumped to the board and then realized that he had forgotten the formula. He started to reason it out and filled the whiteboard with integrals, differentials, and other advanced formulas to conclude the result he had forgotten. As a result, he got negative pi r squared. He didn't like the minus, so he started all over again. He got the minus again. No matter how many times he tried, he always got a minus. He was frustrated. He gave the class a frightened look and saw all the plumbers whisper, "Switch the limits of the integral." They were all professors. Two old farmers, Joe and Bob, lived as neighbors but didn't like each other much. In 1999, there was a period of minus 30 degrees Celsius cold, and Bob and Joe had nothing to do because of it. So they bet a bottle of vodka on who could sit out on the window ledge the longest with a bare ass. After 2 hours, Bob's wife came home and asked Bob, "What are you doing?" Bob explained, and she said, "Come on, you will only freeze your ass off." But Bob refused, as he wanted to win the bet. Then his wife got an idea. Let's change places. When Joe was looking the other way, Bob's wife put on the same kind of pullover and cap and traded places with Bob. Half an hour later, Joe's wife came home and asked him, "What are you doing?" Joe told her and said, "I am determined to win the bottle." "You are crazy! Come on in!" she exclaimed. "Certainly not. I am already on the winning side," Joe replied. "Bob lost his balls half an hour ago."